What's up everybody, I'm Justin with AmericanMuscle.com, and this is going to be my detailed breakdown and install of BMR's adjustable rear upper control arm loaded with their poly bushing, available for your 2011 through 2014 Mustang. So the BMR upper control arm here, their poly option, should appeal to S197 owners out there looking to upgrade their factory piece, of course, but more importantly would like to correct and adjust pinion angle on a lowered Mustang. Now this is especially problematic on cars lowered more than 1 inch and when using a one-piece drive shaft, but it can still be an issue on cars with a two-piece drive shaft as well. Taking things a step further, I would say the poly option would be better suited for S197 owners who spend most of their time on the street with an occasional strip or track day mixed in for good measure. And I say that because the poly material here with their rear upper control arm is going to be a little bit better at soaking up any extra NVH or noise, vibration, and harshness when compared to your other option in the category, a spherical bearing. BMR's upper control arm is going to be one of your pricier options in the category at the $180 price point, and it's going to get 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter from me, and I'll explain a little bit more as to why later in the video. But let's get down to basics here, guys, and the S197 is going to feature what is called a 3-link rear suspension design with a panhard bar. So you have your upper single here and the 2 lowers controlling your roll or front to back movement of that rear axle, while your panhard bar is going to control the side to side or lateral movement. The problem with the factory stuff, it's meant for the masses. You've got some soft rubber factory bushings in there, which will soak up all that road noise and vibration, of course, but they leave a lot to be desired when performance driving is first as your priority. They can deflect under load or hard acceleration, sometimes causing some poor traction, and of course that dreaded hop that we all know and hate. And on top of that, the factory components don't allow for any adjustment or change to the pinion angle to be made on a lowered Mustang, which can cause a host of other problems, the biggest being bad driveline vibrations and even speed up the wear and tear on your pinion bearings or even your U-joints. So now that you know why you might need something like this, let's talk a little bit more about BMR, and they are one of your premier suspension options for your Mustang, both old and new, and they really do focus their efforts on improving the factory design, improving your car's handling and traction in the process. But with all that said, let's break down the construction a little bit further here, guys, with the rear adjustable upper control arm, and just a very solid piece overall. 1 5/8 inch DOM steel tubing, loaded with BMR's 95 durometer polyurethane bushing, guys, and this thing is internally fluted. And what that means is you're just simply going to be keeping grease on the bushing at all times, prolonging the life of the bushing itself, but keeping things quiet in the process as well. Now the center section here, or the adjustable section, you're going to be looking at a really strong chrome-moly steel with rolled threads, just help make on-car adjustability a little bit easier when it does come time to adjust your pinion angle. And I do say relatively easy because you are still working in a very tight space right above the pumpkin on your S197. Now I do want to point out that BMR strongly recommends installing their upper control arm mount along with the arm itself during the time of install. Otherwise, doing so and installing this with the factory mount can result in some clunking or some noises while driving. Now ultimately this is your call, right? You can install the BMR upper with the factory mount, take a gamble on the noise, or you can just pull the trigger on the corresponding BMR mount. It's definitely better off compared to your factory mount, which is thin stamped steel. The BMR mount, on the other hand, is 1/4 inch thick steel plating, so it's only going to help further solidify the rear end, improving your traction, and you can grab that on the site if you prefer. Now, if you do plan on doing a lot of drag racing with your S197, then I would probably steer you more towards the spherical bearing option, which you can also grab on the site. Ultimately, it's just going to be your best bet at reducing any movement with the rear end, but be forewarned, you're almost certainly going to introduce more noise and more vibration with those spherical bearing options. Also available on the site, but not nearly as important, is the fact that you can grab both the upper control arm here and the corresponding mount that we just talked about in your choice of the hammer tone finish shown here, or there is a red option available as well. Well, let's switch gears and talk about the installation here with the BMR upper control arm, and honestly gang, there is a couple of things to consider here. Now if you're only installing the arm by itself, you're going to reuse your factory mount. I'm going to go strong 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, maybe an hour or 2 of your time from start to finish. Now, if you do plan on installing that corresponding BMR mount, well then your install difficulty will stretch out a little bit more to a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. You're gonna spend a little bit more time on the install as well, as there are more steps involved, one of them being removal of the rear seats and the 27mm bolt that lives under there. But since this video is focusing in on the upper control arm by itself, let's just talk about that from an install standpoint. And as I pointed out earlier, yes, you're gonna be working in some pretty tight spots above the pumpkin. Yes, the car will need to be in the air, so just consider that. As far as your tools, well, an assortment of sockets in addition to a very burly torque wrench capable of reading over 200 foot-pounds. Now, when it does come time to start wrenching, the actual install for the arm by itself isn't all that bad. You're essentially looking at 2 bolts here, remove the stocker and set it aside. Now, before you install the BMR unit, you're gonna wanna make sure you start off with this length here between the 2 holes to be 9.5 inches. That's a good starting point. From there, you can adjust your pinion angle, which I'll talk about in a second. Reinstall the BMR option after you adjusted it to 9.5 inches, torque everything down, and the installation is complete. Now, if you were to adjust your pinion angle, now would be the time to do so. You just simply need an angle finder, magnetic angle finder, something like that, or a protractor to make a few measurements, make your adjustments with the suspension loaded up. That's very important. Now, stick cars, you want to be in the -2 to -3 range for your pinion angle. Autos, probably in the -1 to -2 range, and you can find some tutorials to do that on the site. Well guys, closing this thing out here, if you're looking to correct the pinion angle on your lowered S197, you spend most of your time on the street and you want to improve your traction, the Poly option from BMR would be a great choice, and you can grab one right here at AmericanMuscle.com.